we build our nation together. We build our nation together. Come, and we build our nation together. Come together, 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 together. I say come, and we build our nation together. We build our nation.
Come, let us build Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique together. This is our home. Even if you are out there in the diaspora, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique is still your home. So we must work together to transform this place, not just for us, but for our children and children. And I believe this is our duty as parents, as citizens. This is your duty to make this place better for your children and children. I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube, please share the live. Sharing is caring. And those on radio, Vibes 101.3 FM, Vibes 106.3 FM, and Wild 106.3 FM out there in New York, please continue to spread the word about the program. I want to start off by saying this program is very important because we have a lot of FM stations in Grenada, Carriacou, and people are free to vent when they have talk show programs or call-in programs. And boy, oh boy, if you don't have a good moderator, if you don't have a knowledgeable hostess or host, false information will get out there easily. For example, this morning on the Plead Your Cause program on WFM, a caller used words to the effect or stated, by using words to the effect, there is no medication in Maribou Hospital. And then she went on to say, there is no medication at the General Hospital. And I said, no, something ain't right here. And she went on to say, well, they want us to dead. And I said, but wait, I expect the moderator, the host of the program, to stop that lady or interject and ask a question or two. How do you know that they don't have medication? Where did you get that information from? Are you a worker? Are you in stocks or procurement? Do you actually know what medication they have or don't have in stock? But that woman was allowed to just say that thing, put out that information out there. So this program is so important, whereby I can come and counteract or clear up certain things. Because, Grenadians, they listen to nearly all talk radio programs. Those who are in it, they in it throughout. But I am saying there is a need for responsibility while on air. I mean, they're quick to say Kim Jones say X and Kim Jones say Y because they don't like the truth. They don't like my gesticulation. They don't like my intonation. They don't like the fact that I have a good command of the English language. They don't like the fact that this program is popular and it's reaching great many people. But if a person calls this program and says the same thing or similar, I will immediately stop that person and ask a number of questions. Because I don't want my audience, I don't want my listeners to go with false information. Because immediately I called 2 persons who are involved in this whole business. And they said no. They said there is medication at Maribor Hospital. There is medication at the General Hospital. Of course, you will not have all the medication at any given time. You would not have, all that a person may want, but they have medication. So this false information goes out there nearly every morning. A person will call that particular program and throw out a lot of falsehoods. It's just like those NNP pundits call in and say, well, this person didn't get paid and that person didn't get paid. And then when you dig deeper, you realize it's just 1 or 2 persons, right? Who, because of administrative issues, didn't get their stuff on time. And it's not that the government doesn't have the money, they have it. But with human beings, when you're working with people, those things do happen. But I am saying this program is very, very important to clear up certain things because we have a lot of programs that are anti-government, that are opposition programs. The Plead Your Cause program on WFM, the majority of people who call that program, they are NNP supporters. The majority of them. Not all, but the majority. The Sheldon Scott program, whatever the name be, I think it's Talking Points or something like that. It is pro-NNP. That program is a pro-NNP program in my belief. They push an NNP agenda there. Then up north, you have Francis Pear, you have Carl Caton, you have Devon Romaine. I mean, they're all on the same station. And the information that comes out of their programs are anti-government and pro-NNP, in my belief. Then you have Mikey Hutchinson. He does his thing, but many a times we know where he's coming from. You don't have to guess that. Then you have Jenny Simon with a podcast. She's just bitter. She's sour. She's angry. She's anti-government in my belief. And she pushes a kind of pro-opposition agenda. Right? Then you have Mosquito Man. Well, he's somewhat insignificant in the scheme of things. And then you have the Prince guy, somewhat insignificant in the scheme of things, but they're all on the same side. You see? So you cannot get a program or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that actually will, be out here talking about the good things that are happening in Grenada, except this one, and speak out unfiltered with Kim the King and his crew. Other than that, you're coming up against, a lot of these little programs that are really get towards pushing the opposition agenda. And even GBN News and MTV News at times, it comes across as though everything bad they quick to. But that's how it is, right? In this business. And even if the NDC was in opposition, they would have still be against the NDC in my belief and anti-NDC, even in opposition. Even in opposition. Yes, and Eddie Frederick. So Eddie Frederick, your humble servant, Kim the King, Speak Out Unfiltered, and the team, right? But you have to understand what I'm saying. Even if NDC had no seats, even if NDC was in opposition, the media, those podcasters, those talk show hosts and hostesses, they will still be against the NDC. So NDC is in power now, and they're still against the NDC and the NDC administration. So it has always been that way, but it's just that they're not able now to control the narrative. Don't matter, you have plenty of them, these fringe, or splinter podcasters and talk show hosts and so on and so forth. They're still not able to control the narrative because the truth will forever stand, even on the scaffold or at that valley. We will continue to speak. But we must do so with focus, because a lot of good things are happening here. While they're making all the noise, as I said last night, a lot of good things are happening throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. They don't want to highlight that. They don't want to talk about that. All they want to talk about is negative, 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 negative. Because their brain is wired that way. Their brain is designed that way, to be attracted to negativity, not positivity. They want to see Grenada on its knees because they want their ground god to come back and be prime minister. And they want the same old set of do-nothing people to get back in the halls of power in this country. That is what they want. Because some of those so-called reporters and journalists, they got the opportunity to go to China for 6 weeks or a month or 2 months to sightsee. And they come back and say, well, they went to training. They went to train and they went in training and they went to study. Study what? Study what? They went there to sightsee. They get a little visit. And for the first time they traveled, they went on a plane and they went to the United Kingdom, where they do not require a visa. And then they go on to China. They spend 6 weeks there, 2 weeks, seeing stuff, sightseeing, right? Then they may climb the Great Wall of China, take some photos and so on, and basic, nothing serious. And they believe, boy, they have done it. And then they become very loyal to NNP, the NNP administration. And they could see nothing more than them because they believe they would get a next trip, even if the trip takes 10 years again. They still believe that they would get a next trip to China. All right? And I know what I'm talking about. That is what makes them loyalists, And then some of those radio stations and media houses, they got a lot of concession under the NNP administration to bring in the equipment, to bring in this, to bring in that, and they become loyal because the equipment may break down and they may need to get a transmitter again or two, some mics, computers, consoles. They may need some equipment, processors and whatever, again. And they believe they will get that once the NNP is in power, the NNP administration. So they become very loyal. And if they have financial challenges, if they have to pay taxes and other things, they know they could pick up the phone and call somebody and then it's delayed, right? And the NNP administration will hold that over their necks right? Or over the head. It's like a gallows around the neck. They owe government X and Y. So they have to toe the line to keep, you know, being on air and so on. That is what used to happen under the NNP administration. So the level of loyalty is there. And if some of those who are in charge of radio stations and so on meet into financial difficulties, they would beg the old cock for some money to bail them out, and he then owns them, right? Then you have one or two stations that one individual became a member of parliament, an MP with that party and so on, and the loyalty. Remember Alvin Dabrio, for example. This guy was running the whole WFM thing, and then he became a member of NNP. He ran for NNP and he won twice, right? Twice. So the system, you have to understand the system to really navigate it in Grenada. You have to understand it. So all these so-called reporters and journalists, just a little trip they get to China, but they have to go through the United Kingdom, right? When I went to China, I went through the United Kingdom, right? And then when I went to Japan, when I went to Japan, I went through the United Kingdom. When I went to China, I went through Canada. I went to Trinidad, I got my visa for Canada. And I went to Pearson International, then some VVVVX, something in Vancouver, that airport there. And then I went to China. When I went to Singapore, I think I went through Canada or the United Kingdom. Anyways, but I went to China for a period of time, at a high level meeting and training at the Chinese Academy of Governance. And that's pretty much the cream of the crop when it comes to universities in China or schools in China. That's in Beijing, where all the top leaders of the Communist Party attended and go. In fact, when we were closing that training, Xi Jinping, at the time he was not president, but president in line. So he was next in line to take over from who was there before. All right? And he came to that closing ceremony. Him and nearly all the top dons in the Communist Party, they came at that particular closing ceremony. There was about 14 nations. And I was asked by the 14 nations to speak on behalf of the entire class, the entire 14 countries. In fact, that can be verified by my former boss, Benedict Peters. He was actually at that training, that high-level training in Beijing at the Chinese Academy of Governance there, So look, I know. I am not new to this. I understand this when I speak. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not guessing this. Yeah. One of the nastiest place in my belief is in terms of air pollution, boy, is that particular place, boy. They call Beijing. That air is extremely polluted. But they tell you, man, nah, it's mist. It's mist, But anyways, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. They get that little opportunity to go to China, and then they get all caught up because they like to travel. Huh? I mean, I've traveled to so many countries in the world and throughout the Caribbean and Latin America and so on. In fact, I used to pass trips to my other colleague, because I'm a fairly tall guy, and to go in those planes, and I had somewhat a phobia when they lock that thing, you see. So I'm not, these things don't move me. But I'm saying all of this to say to you, we are up against an army of podcasters, talk show hosts, hostesses who hated and underline hated, not hate, hated. This thing has been long hatched. Hated the NDC. And the NDC could do nothing good to please these people. And they only look for that little negative to talk about and to run with. And many a times, it's not causing them to be more popular. It's not causing them to be in control of the narrative. It's not having any impact on the NDC or the most honorable Deacon Mitchell and his team, because more and more people are getting to like our beloved Prime Minister and his team. More and more people are waking up to the realization that this team is genuine about the development of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and they're doing things differently and getting the results that the people desire. So things are happening and people are happy. If you do a poll checking the happiness index of Grenadians, you'll realize that Grenadians are way happier than they used to be many, many years ago. Right? Because this team is pragmatic. They're results-based oriented. They are patriotic. They want to see Grenada transform. They want betterment for our people. And they're not stopping. They're going at it. And that is what Grenadians desired, wanted. And we are now experiencing that good leadership. Right? That is what we really wanted. So they're trying their best, but they're not succeeding. More and more people are registering to vote in the next election. And that is scaring them. They're going after the folks in the diaspora. Yes, they are going after the folks in the diaspora. They vex, they angry, they cussing the people in the diaspora. So they are not Grenadians too. They are Grenadian brothers and sisters. They may move to the diaspora onto greener pastures because they want to work, they want to study, they want to, earn something more to build themselves and their family. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I remember going to Jamaica and I met a good friend of mine, and she said to me, she's in Jamaica and she studied there and she got a work paying her way, way more than here in Grenada. And she stayed there and she's making it damn good. You see? So nothing wrong with that. People go on to greener pastures. I went to BVI to do some studies there for a period of time, and I saw a good friend, a good nurse friend. In fact, she might be my cousin based on my family line. And she was up there doing well. And she was able to recruit or communicate with other nurses, I think about 3 or 4 of them, and they got work in the BVI. So nothing wrong with going in the diaspora, going in some other country and make it big. I love when Grenadians are out there and making it big. But the NNP surrogates, pundits, goons, zygotes, and sycophants, they vex, they angry because the diaspora turn on the NNP. They don't want to see Keith Mitchell and the NNP and all of those good for nothing. They're not interested in that old-time politics and politicians. No, we are in a modern period. We need innovators, creators. We need people with ingenuity. We need folks who can turn things around for our people and bring prosperity and opportunities to our people. And that's the problem that the NNP has. They just have emptiness at the top. Outdated thinking, outdated everything at the top. And Grenadians are smart enough to red flag that. So they vex because our people are registering at record numbers because they understand it's about Grenada. Grenada first. We want to transform Grenada. We want to build Grenada. And we are doing that because we want a better future for our children and children. I am fighting this battle every day because I have 2 young children, two little princesses. I want good for them. I want a better Grenada for them. And I want a better Grenada for your children and your children's children. I want that for you. That is why I am out here every day, going on that journey with you and fostering an intellectual conversation via radio and social media. And look, I know there are people out there who may dislike me. I know there are people out there who don't like to hear my voice. I know there are people out there who don't even like to hear nothing when it comes to Kim Jones. You will find that. So what? You have two parties, two main parties. I am for one, right? And I want that one to remain in power for a long time to transform Grenada. And those who are on the other side, they know that I am in the way of them controlling the narrative or maybe fighting to get back. They know that. So you expect that they would like me? They're listening. Don't fool yourself. They are there listening via radio or social media. They're there because they want to hear what Kim Jones has to say. But don't believe that they like me. I know I have foes and I have friends out there. There are people who like me and there are people who hate me. But I am not perturbed. I'm not worried. I am not even bothered about that. You crazy? I mean, this too long not to know. But we have to keep doing what we are doing because we are up against an army of haters, people who just don't want the government to succeed. They don't want the government to transform Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. But they're in the minority. They're in the minority because NNP has about 25,000 solid support in the country, and some may be outside. NDC has 25,000 solid support in the country, right? And then you have a good 8,000 people, maybe about 10,000 in the middle there who can sway anyway. But so far, that 8 to 10,000 people, they are not going the NNP way. In fact, the NDC base and number and everything have grown bigly. All right? And it is expected because the government is performing well. The government is doing well. And they love the type of leadership that we have and the government and what they're doing for our people. They love that. But not only that, you have hundreds of people in the diaspora who love what is happening in Grenada. Just like during the revolution. Man, the people in the diaspora, they love Morris. They love what the revolution was doing here in Grenada. There was a heightened level of patriotism. It is a similar feel at this point in time in Grenada. So the folks in the diaspora, they're 100% on board with what is happening in Grenada. And they're very influential. In fact, the reason why we had thousands of people, never before seen, coming from the diaspora into Grenada, coming back home to celebrate our Golden Jubilee, 50 years of independence as a nation, is because of the heightened patriotism that we have seen since the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and the team formed the government. They just love the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and they love his team. And that is significant. So they want this to continue. And I have a huge reach in the diaspora. And I know, and I knew that long, very long. And they listen and they follow keenly instructions too. And they're registering in record numbers. And that will continue until the election. In fact, we may have about 10 to 15,000 people from the diaspora registering to keep this transformation agenda going, to keep it solid, right? On par, on that path, sorry. And that is encouragement for all of us, right? And I am optimistic about the future. I believe that we will grow. I believe that this place will be transformed. I believe that this place will be developed. Things will happen for our people. Things will happen for our people. You see, it's one thing to be out there talking on radio and doing a podcast, and it's another thing to be talking on radio and doing podcasts and so on and have influence on people. It's another thing altogether. You have to be able to influence people. You have to be able to inspire people. You have to be able to motivate people. I met a number of people who said to me, Kem Jones, boy, I never thought, they were actually saying to me that they never thought the NDC stand a chance of winning. But they say when they listened to me and how I encouraged them and the way I spoke during that period of time, they got that encouragement, right? They got that push. Yes, it could happen. Yes, it will happen. Yes, if we do X, Y, and Z, we will win. Just that. They were motivated. They were energized again. They started, getting resources and sending it. They started mobilizing, organizing, getting the people to register, getting the people to go out and vote early, and because they were motivated, they were inspired, they were encouraged, they were moved to action. Because they thought, well, boy, we done, we fini, right? But as I explained to them like a teacher, the path to victory, they get it. They got that thing deep. Say, yes, boy, it's possible. It will happen. It's going to happen. And it's the same thing I'm doing now as we move to the next election. Because when I tell you something, you can go to sleep, you can go to work, it will happen. We will beat the NNP badly come the next election. And look, there are people who might be on our side now and maybe they might drop off. There are those who were on our side before, right? And they drop off. I remember Youth for Change. We've had a number of young people who are part of the team, and two in particular, they are no longer on this team or with this party. There's one female, bitter, angry, sour, talking and saying what she wants, and that's all right. Nothing wrong with that, but that wouldn't change anything. No, that would never change anything. Because you see, she's on the wrong side of history. And she's speaking certain language, certain things that it's not in line. You see? One thing, you need to know your audience. Huh? If you don't know your audience, you're in problem. You need to know your audience. And then you have another young one who used to be with us and got a little blind coming closer to the election to build some little bathroom and thing. And after a while, they take that from him and dump him. So there will be people who are going to start with you, because there are some people who were never made to remain with you forever. Eh? It's just like a rocket, right? This what do you call this? Is it a booster? I think it's a booster. What the rocket goes into, and then when it reaches a particular height, it drops off. Whatever the name of that thing, right? It gets the rocket up to a particular height, and then it drops off. So its usefulness is no more, right? It got the rocket to a particular point, and beyond that, it is useless. So we have to understand that everybody was made to stay in your life forever. There are sometimes you need to remove some chairs around that table if you want to advance, if you want to have a good dinner or a good lunch or a good supper, right? You got to remove certain chairs, around that table, because there are certain people who want to come around that table and they're going to spoil your breakfast and spoil your lunch and spoil your dinner. Everybody was not made to be with you forever. No, don't believe so. And sometimes when they're no longer around, you thrive better, you bloom better, you blossom better. It's just like you have a nice rose, right? And you have so many things around it that was preventing the sunlight or preventing the bees or whatever to pollinate to, But the minute time you get rid of what's around it, you see it start to blossom and bloom. But when the sun was hot, the same thing that you have to get rid of now, they were actually shielding that same rose from withering, from dying, so it served its purpose. It's no longer dry season. It's now to get rid of, time to get rid of that. Right? So don't believe that people were made to remain there forever. In fact, I give you a typical example politically. Peter David is better outside of the NDC and with the NNP than with the NDC. In other words, the NDC is way better off with Peter David outside of it, right? Anywhere else than inside of the NDC. His time was when they teamed up and they were not in government. From 1999 thereabout, 2000, 2001, 2002, somewhere around there, when they ran the election of 2003 and they got 7 seats. He was useful then, he and the others. And then they started their stupidness. But within that period of time, then they came into power. So the usefulness at least was between 2003 to 2008, around that period. They were useful to get into power. But after that, they became power hungry and all kind of rumblings and all kind of, and they thought they could have just walk over Tillman Thomas and do all kind of stupidness. You understand the point? So he was useful then. But after that, in fact, if Tillman Thomas had kicked out these guys and called an election and said to the people that these people were trying to do X, Y, and Z, he would have won the election again. Yeah, he would have won the election. But I'm saying that to say to you, he was useful at that point in time. He's no longer useful. Not even in the NNP. The NNP don't even want the guy. Right? Because they still don't trust the individual. They just don't, because they're using history. Right? They're going back and they're looking at history as a teacher. But that's just an example I'm giving you. I am saying to you, everybody around you now were never made to stay with you forever and ever. Maybe some might be your friend until you die. Right? It's like a relationship. You're in a relationship with somebody and two of you all start something, going good, and then twos, whatever happened, you might be in another relationship and you go even further. Right? Or maybe you go backward. So some will come into your life to build you and some will come to break you. It is simple like that. But sometimes you have to evaluate, you have to assess. Sometimes I sit and I say, but I have 10 people around me. And what is their usefulness? What is their purpose? What they're actually adding to my life and to what I do? And if they're not around, would I be able to function and do what I do, or even better? Sometimes you have to assess, you have to evaluate. Sometimes your circle has to be smaller to be able to bloom and blossom and to advance, and your circle have to be smaller. There are people who used to be around me, and they're no longer around me. But I don't miss them, you see, because they were never a key player in my success or in my advancement. They were never the oxygen or they were never the engine, or they were never the tires, but you could replace that. You see? Or the gearbox, or the, you know. I am simply saying everybody was not made to be with you forever. So you would see people come and go politically. You would see people who were there front and center, and they would say, well, I was a foundational member, I was a foundation member, or I was there early up and I used to do this. And you ask, but why are you not there now? Because they wanted certain position, they didn't get it, and they're bitter, they're angry. A lot of them. So they would come and go. There are people who are right now bad like Bobo B for the NDC, saying X and saying Y. Between now and the election, they may not be around, the NDC. No, because they want something and they didn't get it. Or they got a better offer somewhere else. You can expect those things. But would you give up? Would you give up? I remember folks saying to me, Kim Jones, well, what happened to this girl? And every time she blah, 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 and she beat her, right? And everything is negative. Negativity alone she could see. So what happened to her? Talk to her. I said, me? Talk to who? She on she own. You understand the point? She on she own. And I said to a lot of people, I said, if you don't understand your audience, that will bring your downfall. Because I remember a certain individual, man, when she on live on Facebook and so on, hundreds and hundreds of people used to view. She never understood her audience. And the many times she started going into this stupidness with NNP and them and Mosquito Man and all of them, what happened? All the numbers gone straight down, the numbers gone. Yeah. People ain't studying, huh? You understand the point? You have to understand your audience. And your alliance. Because if you're a young person, you're supposed to be progressive, you're supposed to be focused, you're supposed to be, all now, so maybe she would have been in Brussels or somewhere else, or some big embassy or something, but sometimes you talk too much and you talk too quick. You talk too quick. Somebody had to shut up. Calm down. Calm. There are some people, they speak too quickly. Sometimes you have a little academic behind you, some first degree or some second degree, but you don't have common sense to exist in this little space. Sometimes you gotta calm down. Calm your tone. You speak too much. You yap too much. You speak too quick. Or else you may have been in Europe or North America or somewhere in some big thing. All right? Or some and I bet you, as I'm speaking here now, when I finish speak, the same individual, even if I ain't call the individual name, the same individual on her next podcast or next program, Cam Jones, and he and this, and he and that. You see, the individual is predictable, right? Predictable. So I am saying, folks, we have to understand. There are people who are going to follow you because they like stupidness, right? They like TB. They like when you have a program and it's TB. I was speaking to my good partner recently. He had this transgender person on, and boy, you don't see views. 3,000 something people viewing one time. TB, melee. But let him have a program speaking about serious stuff. You understand the point? Serious stuff. You're going to see like a 500 or 600 people viewing at once. But with the TB and the melee and this balloon in front of the male that turned, say female or whatever gender, transgender, I think. Big thing. Drama. That's what it is. But to say that people following you genuinely following you. Nah, following what? They like the little gossip, they like the little melee and so on. Let she start to think and start to cost and start to get on and start to, a lot of people go and they want TB. Grenadians love that. Can't run away from that. But when it comes to genuine campers, genuine followers, you're going to know. You will know. Yep, I'm telling you. I give you a typical example. The people who listen and follow this program, consistent. Every morning, every night, 700-800 people viewing, consistently so. Facebook and YouTube, consistent. And I'm an influencer. It's different. All these people have to do, go, organize something now. Anytime they organize something, you bossing. They have no influence. You see? It's different. They have no influence. It is one thing to be dramatic, and it's one thing to be sensational, and I understand social media. I understand social media. There are people who want to watch your video for 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Drama. They passing through, they browsing, and they click. But that doesn't mean to say that the 7,000 people who viewed really like what you're saying genuinely. No, you're joking or what? They just make a little peep. But when I go back and I check the inside of my program, I know how long you stayed on viewing my program and where you viewed it from. So I know that this program is solid, and not just on social media. I am talking about radio and here in Grenada and in New York. And if you want to know whether a program is popular and solid, let the individual organize stuff. Just organize stuff. That's all you have to do. Organize things, and you would really see whether or not you are actually influential or popular, or people like you or appreciate. Organize stuff and see whether or not you're going to be successful. That's all you need to do. Yeah? I am simply saying at the end of the day, Grenada must come first. You could have your issues. You could have your gripes but when it comes to objectivity, when it comes to positivity, speak some more positivity. Speak some more, of the good things. Talk about some of the good things that are happening in the country. There's a heightened level of patriotism. Grenadians don't want to hear bad news. Grenadians are not interested in that anymore. They're forward thinking. It's different. You have to know the times that you exist in. You see? That's very, very important. Folks, don't forget my good friend Ricardo Kings Douglas. He has his event coming up, right? Don't forget that. So let me just give my little promo before I wrap up for this morning.
The RKD Theatre and Grenada Cooperative Bank present Journey to Gold, written and directed by Ricardo Keynes Douglas. Journey to Gold brings to life 50 years of Grenadian politics through song, dance, and theatre. Join us at the Grenada Trade Center on Saturday, March 2nd at 8 p.m. and Sunday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. Advance tickets are $50, so get them now at Grenadian Optical, St. George's, and Spiceland Mall, Gittins Pharmacy, Grand Anse, and online at gotofet.com. See you on March 2nd and 3rd for Journey to Gold. Associate sponsor, Judah Sound. This ad compliments Hubbard's.
Right. So, folks, I want to thank you for being a part of the program this morning. I want to wish you all the best. I know my good friend Ron Redhead, they have a little event at, the beginning of Ravine, Monge area there, after Decall gas station. A little drink up. You buy your drinks, you buy your barbecue, pork and chicken. You could go with a full meal, right? That's the day, starting at 2 p.m. If you have time, please pass by there and support the Honorable Ron Redden and his team. They have that fundraiser right there. Drinks, food, on sale, music. It's a good line, a good vibes. Today starting at